Hey, welcome to Fix It for Josh's sake. Today I want to take you on another step of this project that I'm doing right now on this 1982 MasterCraft Waterski Boat. It's got the Ford 351 in it, and this particular video is me focusing on some of the highlights and the learning curve that I'm experiencing as I'm working on the fiberglass on this boat. So come along with me as we fix it for Josh's sake. For this video, I just want to focus on what I accomplished in the process of fixing the fiberglass on this boat. Here's the seat, and when you look at my last video, you'll remember this seat was just all destroyed. There was vinyl on it. The vinyl was torn to pieces. There was some foam in here. The foam was all deteriorated and torn to pieces. There was some plywood perimeter pieces in here that the seat was stapled down to, and that was completely rotten. So I took all of that apart and threw it all away and started to realize that even this needed some love. There's a crack here that's now mended, and I just wanted it to be a little bit stronger and firmer. I found out as I was looking at the fiberglass here, the sun can bake into this resin and start to make the cloth, this mesh cloth that you see here, powdery. And so it's really important to not let raw fiberglass cloth sit in the sunlight. So I applied 2 coats of resin on this, and I'm in the stage now where I'm about ready to put on 3 coats of polyurethane, and that will seal this from the sunlight. Now, the reason why I'm pointing out the polyurethane right now, even though this looks pretty great, is fiberglass resin does not repel UV rays from the sun. Polyurethane does. So while this looks really great and is beautiful, and I'm excited to put a cushion in here and make this all really nice, I'm actually going to leave this raw fiberglass. I like that look. I know it's not traditional to MasterCraft, and they have the big plushy vinyl seats, but I'm going to leave this kind of raw and rustic. But I'm gonna have to put on 3 coats of polyurethane so that the sunlight does not bake this fiberglass cloth. When we look under this seat, we've got these nice aluminum rails here, and we've got this cool pin here that when you pull, it releases the stop point on this pin. That does connect into this platform right here, and these are the rails that it sets into. So this pin right here will, stop in each one of these spots and allow that chair to move forward and back. I started trying to slide it back in there, and it's pretty sticky. So I got myself a little bit of grease here, and I'm just gonna run myself a bead in here or along here. Probably along here would be easier to put it along here, and that way, when I want this to slide around, it moves easily rather than sitting there jerking on it and putting a ton of force on these screws that are down into the floor of the boat. You can kind of see that maybe this track should have been lubed a long time ago, because there's a bit of stress on that fiberglass. Now from the seat, I want to go around over here to the doghouse. And when you look at my last video, you'll see this was completely exposed. The vinyl was tore completely back, and that cloth was white, powder white, from the sunlight baking it and turning it soft. So I put on 2 very heavy coats of fiberglass resin, and I think I brought it back to life. It feels really nice. It looks great. And again, I will be applying 3 coats of polyurethane on this to seal it up really good. I want to talk to you now, though, about everything I learned in this process, because this is my first time doing fiberglassing. So what I used first off was this Bondo fiberglass resin. It was 16 bucks at Fleet Farm, and I thought, oh, that should be enough. I don't remember. What is it? 9.99 of a pint, so almost a pint. 14 fluid ounces. And first of all, this stuff must sit on the shelf a long time, because it had actually glumps of starting to harden parts of the resin, and I had to use a stick to dig that out as I was trying to dump it into a mixing dish, put in my hardener, and do the process of applying it to the fiberglass. So that used up pretty quick, partly because some of it was already hard. But then I went and I got this liquid resin for fiberglass. I think these are the same. A lot of Google, not real good answers, but I think these are the same. They're made by Bondo. Bondo's made by 3M. They're both fiberglass resins. But this seemed to do a little bit better. First of all, it didn't have clumps in it. It was nice and clean. But it just seemed to go on better, harder. Actually, this was harder. This didn't get as hard. And I realized that, you know, this one had this little tub of hardener. This one had the bigger tub of hardener. I don't know if these are different. I couldn't tell the difference between these two. But either way, both of them have the same recipe. For every ounce of resin that you use, you put in 10 drops of hardener. So my process was to pour in, I was pouring in either 2 or 4 ounces at a time, depending on which area I was covering. And then I was dropping in either 20 or 40 drops and stirring it up for 30 seconds. And then grabbing myself a brush and brushing it on to the fiberglass wherever I was working on it here. And the key things I want to point out is I learned very quickly that you start at the top. So you start at the top and you work your way down, because I'll be darned if I didn't have drips. Because I started, you know, oh, let's start on the side, and let's go over here, let's go up here and go up here, and ironically, I had drips coming down, like blotches and things, because I didn't start at the top and then brush everything out as I'm going down on the fiberglass. So, old painter's trick that I should have remembered, but it did slip out of my mind as I was doing this process. I wanted to talk about some of the things I learned, though. Definitely need gloves. Oh my gosh, this resin is so sticky. It's unbelievable. This is 80 grit sandpaper. And after my first coat of resin on both the seat and the doghouse here, I used up quite a few sheets here of sanding that down and getting it nice and smooth for my second coat of this resin that I applied. Another thing I learned is you really can't reuse a dish. Look at how grimy and gross that is. And that's even after dumping acetone in there and trying to wash it out. It just doesn't clean out very good. So, also have several brushes on hand, because these brushes can't handle the resin very well when we're trying to clean them out. And if anybody had any suggestions for a better brush than these, I can't tell you how many bristles I had to pick out of the resin as I was painting it on. That was also very annoying. So maybe there's another brand or a style that holds its bristles better. I'm all ears, my goodness. Other things to talk about is, after I used this 80 grit sandpaper and sanded down the fiberglass to get it nice and smooth. Well, not smooth. I just was knocking off the high spots. Once I did that, I took myself a rag, a tack rag, so not even one of these, but a tack rag, dumped alcohol in it, and wiped everything down so that it was real nice and clean and ready for a fresh coat of resin. And that worked really well. Now, the key thing to note is do not apply the resin too soon, because we do need the fiberglass to be dry, and I believe alcohol would definitely be a problem. So I had this out in the sunshine, you know, on a beautiful day like we got here, and I was working on it in the sun, and it went really well. Now, I wanted to point out one thing, and that was when I was working on this chair. It might be hard to see, but this chair, like I said, it's got plywood in here, and there's some bolt holes and that kind of thing. And in a few spots, I can see some white in here. And I'm pretty sure that that is moisture. I think that's moisture that was still in the plywood, and I probably should have let this bake in the sun maybe for another day or something. As much as I could, I tried to cure it out, but the reason why I think it's moisture is because nowhere on the back or on the sides here did I get any white specks like that. I only got it down where this sheet of plywood is. And so I really think that that was moisture sitting down in there. So now it's sat in the sun, it's cured, it's hard, but I think you got to be sure that your fiberglass is nice and dry, and the wood backing your fiberglass is nice and dry too. Another thing I wanted to point out on this fiberglass, when you see my last video, you'll see that this had vinyl all around it, and then underneath that vinyl was foam, and that was glued on, and it was glued on pretty good. And I started out with a razor blade like this, and I kind of cut it back, not into the cloth because I didn't want to have frays, but I just cut back the foam, but it left a layer of the glue. And so then I grabbed, this is a plastic brush, got this at Menards, comes in a 6-pack in the welding department or the painting department, I don't remember, but this plastic brush had straight bristles, and I used it to just scrub and scrub and scrub, and it worked really well to peel off the foam and the glue that was on here to get it down to proper fiberglass. You know, there is a layer of resin on here in some spots, and some spots it was just open cloth because the sunlight does deteriorate this resin over time. But between a razor blade and this plastic brush and then some tack cloths, I was able to get down to a spot where I could fiberglass this very well. Sure is coming together. I'm really happy with how that resin worked, how detailed I went. I thought I was overkill, but I don't think I was at all. It takes time, and your elbow grease might get a little tired, but it's totally worth it. And this is a beautiful, beautiful project that I'm having a lot of fun working on. This is how the seat looks sitting here in the cockpit. I'm really looking forward to putting together a vinyl pad down here. I don't know what color or what design, but I have some ideas, so you'll have to watch my next video on what I decide to do here. I think it's going to be pretty fun. That about wraps up everything I have to say about this part of working on my boat here. If you have any suggestions or advice for me, I am all ears. Like I said, this is a new passion project that I'm picking up, and I'm all about learning. I'm all about doing the research and digging into stuff and finding out the right way, or a way that works, you know, for the purpose I'm serving. For me, this is going to be just a family boat. I'm not taking it to some show, and I'm not trying to impress everybody down at the boat dock, but I do want it to be functional, and I do want it to last a long time so that we can enjoy being out there on the water. Thanks for watching Fix It for Josh's sake. If you liked what you saw here, give me a thumbs up. I would really appreciate knowing you're out there. And give me a comment. Tell me what you're doing, what you're working on. Most importantly, I'd love it if you subscribe, and I'd love to see what you're working on too, and you know, we can share back and forth and talk about what the projects are and that kind of thing. I really enjoy that kind of community that we can develop here on YouTube. So thanks for watching Fix It for Josh's sake.